Hi friend, David here from Learn Stage Lighting, and in this video I want to take for a moment these two LED pars that I've recently reviewed. We've got the Gamma Starburst 7x18 watt par and the Eliminator LP Hex 12 par, and I want to look at them together. So previously I reviewed the Gamma par as well as the Eliminator par in separate videos, and you should have seen those fly up on your screen there as YouTube cards. So if you want to check out those reviews, check them out. But I think it's really worth looking at, and this may be a video that, honestly, I don't know whether the manufacturers will promote this or not, because it has two different manufacturers in it. But this is a video that I think is important, because I want to talk about, and I really want to show you how to compare two lights that you might be looking to buy, especially LED wash type lights like these two pars, because on the surface these lights look really similar, and they are, but they're also different, and you need to decide what's best for you. You know, on YouTube here I do get a lot of comments, a lot of people that say, hey, what light is best, just tell me. And the truth is, there is no best light, right? Because the light has to be best for you. For some people, maybe someone on Broadway, that would be, you know, a $1,000 to $2,000 LED par. For somebody gigging with a band, you might look at something much less expensive and be thrilled with it for years to come. If you need the less expensive par, you shouldn't buy the $2,000 par. That's one of the things I'm really big on here on Learn Stage Lighting, and many of you are familiar with this concept. My goal is to help educate you and teach you to learn the right things so you can buy the right stuff and make great shows or services with it. So if you resonate with that, be sure to subscribe here and a thumbs up like this video. Now let's dive in. So these two pars are really interesting to me, because if we look at them, they're both aimed at the entry-level-ish market, okay? The Eliminator LP Hex 12 retails online for about $150, and the Gamma retails online for around $200. In both cases, you want to call a dealer for the best pricing if you're buying multiple units. That's a big deal, okay? And so, because you can really save a lot by doing that. But that's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is which one should you buy? So the Eliminator, okay, I see that online for $150, the Gamma for $200. And so if I was buying 10 units, all of a sudden that's now $1,500 versus $2,000. And so I want, if I'm buying, say I'm buying 10 lights, okay? If the Eliminator is right for me, then I better buy that light, because I'm going to save $500. And in this time when I'm making this, we're in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. If that's what's right for you and you save $500, then I want you to save that $500. Heck, go join Learn Stage Lighting Labs. But if this isn't going to meet your needs, then you're going to have spent $1,500 on something that doesn't work for you. You might sell it at a loss and then buy something that's right. And so here's what I want to do. I just want to look at these two lights really objectively and show you the differences between them. So let's start with the physical, okay? The Eliminator is a very light, inexpensive type unit. There are pretty significant differences in the build feel between these two lights. When we look at the front, for example, just looking at the front, the Gamma's got glass on top, the Eliminator does not. Brightness-wise, we'll look at brightness in a few minutes. I'll shine them up on this wall, and we'll see that the Gamma has about twice the wattage of LEDs in it compared to the Eliminator. And we'll see that in our tests. I've seen that in previous tests that I've done. So the Gamma's a lot brighter. But at the end of the day, if you have lights that are around the brightness of the Eliminator, and that works for your shows, then go for it. Let's talk a little bit more about the physical. So if we feel them, the Eliminator is a plastic case, metal yoke. I really like how they put the name on it, even though for some people that'd be annoying, but guess what? There's gaff tape, cover it up. If we go to the back, though, there are the most differences between these two units on the back. So the first thing we see, both have vents on the back, but the Eliminator is fan cooled. We can see a fan right here on the bottom vent. Okay, this is a huge selling point of the Gamma, is they are fanless. Now, if I'm in a permanent installation, I always recommend, if you can, relay your lights on and off. Have a way to switch them on and off when people are in the room. It could be as simple as a light switch wired up by an electrician or a relay type system. Because you're always going to get more life out of your lights unless they're on all the time. In the case that they're going to be on all the time or a lot, you really want to go with a unit that has that fanless design. Because fans, remember this, fans at some point will die. The fan will break. These lights both are inexpensive enough that they don't have temperature sensors in them that you can access, okay? And so if that fan breaks, you're never going to know, and the electronics are going to heat up, the light's going to die, okay? Looking at other things on the back of them, they're both 6-in-1 LEDs, hexes. That's red, green, blue, white, amber, and UV. So that's equal. But we get 3-pin DMX on both of them. The quality of the connector, feels a little better on the Gamma. It has the lock on the output as well. But overall, they're both plenty acceptable. On the power side, though, there's a lot of difference. The Eliminator has a non-locking PowerCon type connector. Now, I really try to avoid this, especially in a permanent installation where lights are up in the air. I really don't like IEC cords versus the PowerCons, because IEC cords can and will potentially wiggle out over time. I've seen this happen. Whereas a PowerCon is a locking professional type connector, but at least both of them have power in and through. Okay? Looking at the LCDs, the Gamma has a bigger, brighter screen. The buttons feel a little bit nicer, and everything in general just is of a higher quality, but you're also, you're paying more between them, right? Okay, now the downside, one thing I do want to touch on is if you're setting up events and you're constantly, going ahead, tearing these down, setting them back up, doing gigs, and especially if you're hanging the lights a lot, you're going to notice that the Eliminator weighs a lot less because it's fan-cooled as opposed to having massive metal heat sinks. And so that's something to be aware of, is that, okay, if you're going to constantly just be setting these up, tearing these down, maybe you're a one-man show, you've got to load them into your van or trailer or truck all the time, then maybe you go with the lighter weight, the Eliminator, okay? And so, both of these have a split yoke, pretty similar design. Both of them clamp mountable. When I've turned them on, I do notice, the one thing I notice about them is that the Eliminator, I get a little bit of funky noise out of them sometimes. This happens with less expensive products, rather, not less inexpensive, but less expensive products. And, it's just something to be known of, that if you're in a situation, maybe a church or something like that, where you're pretty sensitive about noise, I would probably avoid this. But if you're a band or a DJ, you want the least expensive thing, you want to set it up, you want to tear it down, then, I'd say go for it. Angle-wise, they're about the same. And so let's go ahead. I'm going to hook them up on my wall back here, and I want to look at them through the camera as well as just visually live and talk about, okay, what are the differences between these? How do they actually look apart from each other? Because looks really matter in a light, right? Features and build quality and connections, that all is important, but at the end of the day, if it doesn't look right, then it's not right for you. Then we'll hop back and we'll try to sum this up as best we can. All right, first thing you're gonna notice is it's kind of dark here, but that's okay because looking at me is not all that important. Let's look at the lights. And so the very first thing we see is we've got on the left the Eliminator and on the right the Gamma. We noticed that the Eliminator definitely, using it as an uplight, the Gamma looks better, for sure. The Eliminator, the angle's a little bit wider than the Gamma, but they're really stinking darn close. The whites Both look okay to the eye for just an on full white, but let's look at some colors. First things first, we see red here. They look pretty similar. The Gamma to the eye is brighter, but the color quality looks about the same. Green, they look pretty similar. The Gamma, I would say, is a little bit more of what I would call a Kelly green. It's a softer green, whereas the Eliminator is definitely like an alien green going on. Blue, if we look at the blue, again, very similar. The Gamma's a little bit more violet-ish, whereas the Eliminator is a little more desaturated, but no major differences. The Gamma's white is definitely just a little bit nicer than the Eliminators, but no massive differences either. Amber again, very similar between these two units. The Gamma is throwing a little bit nicer of a beam. The Gamma also looks a little bit nicer, but again, the cost is there. Then when we bring up the UV, it's actually kind of interesting. The Eliminator is showing more light visually, but let me put something white in front of them. And placing a white object in front of them confirmed what I already thought. The Eliminator's UV is brighter, the Gamma's is there, and that comes down to probably purpose on these guys, whereas the Eliminator, more designed for DJs especially, who will use that UV on its own. The Gamma maybe would be used by someone who mixes that UV in with colors and doesn't use it alone as much. Alright, back to David Vision. Let's wrap this thing up. So, the lights behind me, we can see, are going in a color chase, and we've looked at all the colors, we've looked at the brightness, we've looked at them shining on a wall, and to tell you the truth, it's kind of that honest look that I like to take at things, which shows you, okay, you do get what you pay for. The Gamma is a nicer unit. It's more professional, it's better built, it's not noisy. If you can hear the fans behind me, the Eliminator, once you start it up, that fan kicks in and it gets fairly loud. But, of course, it comes at a slightly higher cost. And so, I really, to anyone buying stuff, I would in a heartbeat recommend either of these to the right person. For somebody especially who might be doing a lot of parties or, just is in a band or a DJ where it's going to be a loud environment all the time, hey, go with the Eliminator if it looks like it's bright enough for your needs. Again, they've got photometrics, but it's, photometrics can be tough for LEDs, but it's, around 60 watts of LED light as opposed to the Gamma, which is about twice that, okay? So if it looks like that Eliminator could meet your needs, then I'd say go for it. Check them out. And I've got links below to everything, and if you buy through my links, it does help learn stage lighting to grow at no additional cost to you. Now, the Gamma. The Gamma is a really nice unit. I really like this light. It's well built. It feels solid. I talked to the Gamma folks about people that have bought them over time, as well as just checking them out myself. It feels high quality. It looks good. It doesn't make strange sounds. And it's something that I would put to work in a small production company, with a band, in a church, etc. instantly. Especially when we're talking churches or anywhere that's an installed setup, you really want to think about the noise that the light makes, okay? And how the colors look visually. And I think the Gamma wins at both of those. Both these lights are a good option, and I hope this video helps you, whether you're looking at these two lights or other LED pars. I hope this video really helps you to see how to choose the right one for your needs, what some things are to look for, etc., etc. If you did like this, hey, check out my stage lighting gear guide. I'll have it at the end here. You can grab that. It's just all my favorite gear. I put a brief description in there and show you where you can buy it. Again, giving me a small commission back from Amazon with no additional cost to you. If you like that, be sure to subscribe here, and we'll see you on our next video.